I think next we're going to be talking about What If Episode 7?
What if we did?
Yeah. Well, if we did, we would be talking about what if Thor was an only child? And this episode was just a straight up comedy.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it did not...
It didn't hit for you?
It did not jazz with me. Yeah, it didn't jazz with me like the other episodes. I'm sorry. Like, it was good for what it was, but what I've come to expect from What If is some really engaging story and some decent action, you know? But this one was just, like, too heavy on the comedy. Way too heavy on the comedy. And then we go back to, you know, base level Thor from like the first movies where he's just like kind of like a bumbling idiot, but at the same time he's kind of charming, you know?
Yeah, it's interesting because it's kind of like what Thor would have been had they had the current direction of him in mind in the beginning. Because in the very beginning, it was all these and thous and thou oughts. And he was a little bit of a meathead, but he was more Shakespearean. But, you know, nowadays, he's not bumbling, but there's definitely, they've realized that Chris Hemsworth has comedic timing and he works better if he's put in comedic situations. They kind of scaled that version of Thor back and then removed what they would describe as the adversity from his life, which is Loki, right?
Right.
So they're imagining Thor growing up privileged, spoiled, and adversity free. Yeah. And this is what we get. We get party Thor, right?
Right.
And then Thor's like, Mom's leaving for the weekend. It's risky business on Earth. Let's roll. You know, let's go to Midgard and tear it up. It's funny that you said that, you know, what we come to expect. At this point, up to this episode, I've realized to expect nothing because the episodes have been so wildly different. I tried to come at it with logic, and that doesn't really work sometimes. And I've tried to come at it with, you know, certain expectations, and then they just get dashed from episode to episode. And again, I almost wish that this was an anthology with different animation types, because if it was, we would be more receptive, I think, to the wild changes in tone that we're getting with these episodes, right?
Yeah.
I didn't mind it. It wasn't my favorite either, but I just kind of sat back and I just let it wash over me. I was like, this is what we're doing. Here we are.
I was kind of sitting there on my phone. Like every other episode, I was like glued to the TV. I was like, what's going to happen next? This one, I was just like,
yeah, it was
on Facebook.
Not a whole lot of consequences.
They
cool
did some
cameos.
interesting things.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
It's not like this episode was devoid of any kind of creativity or coolness. Captain Marvel shows up. That's cool.
Yeah. What they did with Loki was my favorite.
Yeah. What they did with Loki was pretty cool.
I was like, that's fucking cool. And there were a few times I laughed out loud.
Yeah, no, I got.
So like I said, it wasn't a bad episode. Just like I said, from what we have already seen, it's all the way at the bottom.
Yeah, well, I think by now we all have like what we've come to want out of What If, or we got an idea of what's possible, what we like and what we don't like. Oh man, most previous episode of Call It Like I Don't See It, AD ripped into What If. I think he might be done with the series now because he hated the zombies episode, which is sad. I know I like the zombies episode. He hated the Killmonger episode. And he was like, bro, if episode 7 isn't, I'm giving it one more chance, 3 strikes. If episode 7 isn't good, then you can just let me know if I need to watch 8 or 9. I was like, damn. And, you know, it's funny. I think because Gamer Friends recently came out with their podcast, they were talking about it too. And they said it's hit or miss. It's been hit or miss with a lot of people. And they don't really feel like recommending it to people as something you need to watch until you do. Because they're getting the impression, and I kind of do as well, that eventually some of these stories will be continued in some kind of format. They're priming us for different storylines. So you don't really have to watch What If as a Marvel fan until you do. You know what I mean?
Right.
So again, it doesn't feel like a waste of time to me. I'm still interested to see like what's going to happen every week, what the flavor of the week is going to be, whether I'm into it or not. And again, as far as logic, if you really want to think hard about it, you're like, if you move this one piece, would all of this really come out this way? Probably not. But in a universe of infinite possibilities, you can't restrain yourself like that. You can't go down that road. You just write a story and go with it. I mean, we did our own What If gaming style, And we weren't trying to predict what would actually happen, but the possibilities were still fun to discuss, right? And I think that's what we're looking at here. Just one of many infinite possibilities. Some of them are going to hit, some of them are not, because they're swinging for the fences on a few of these, you know?
Yeah. And this episode did what a few of the episodes have done, which is gave me a more interesting post-credit scene.
Yeah.
Where it's like, no, I want to see that. No!
I know. I was like, whoa, more of that, please.
What if this, please? Come on.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that like in season 2, they're going to continue on that storyline.
Could be.
But,
or because
you don't show me that.
Yeah. And again, we're entering, I mean, you talked about it before. You wanted to see some new characters.
Yeah.
You wanted What If to show you new characters. There you go.
Yeah. I mean, kind of new.
Well, I mean, new versions, certainly. But
yeah,
we're entering the multiverse. We're entering the age of Kang the Conqueror. Things are going to get a little wacky, for sure. And things are going to be pulled. I mean, look at Spider-Man that's coming up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's opening the door to a lot of bullshit. So this What If is going to be a lot more plausible or possibly affecting into the main MCU than we probably even know right now.